Originally, we identified places that might be toxic. They were called brownfield sites. A lot of towns have areas that are industrial. They even call it an industrial complex. We know that when laws were more relaxed, there were definitely toxins getting into the soil and the water nearby. The classic case study here is a place in New York called Love Canal. In the 1940s and 50s, Love Canal was a dump. By the middle 1970s, a neighborhood popped up there. And they built homes, there were parks. They also noticed that kids in the neighborhood had a much higher rate of cancer. And somebody finally put the whole picture together and said, oh my gosh, we're living on top of a toxic waste dump. And that's probably what's causing the higher rates of carcinogenic toxins. It led to a major law. RCRA had a couple of main points to it. It set up requirements for landfills, that they had to have an impermeable liner. Not until the 1970s that we had those regulations in place. It determined that some chemicals were hazardous and that they had to be dealt with in more contained ways. They also identified certain chemicals that some industries produced that they made them liable for it. So if they make that chemical in a factory, they are responsible to follow that chemical its entire life until it is properly disposed of. And if they don't document that and keep track of it, then there are stiff penalties. Well, RCRA set up the very first framework for managing and controlling waste. CERCLA established what we call Superfund sites. You can see that in the signs here. So basically, they made a prioritized list of the most toxic places in the country. And they took money then and would clean them up, starting with the highest priority. The red dots that you see on this picture are Superfund sites. This is not a small list. It is a huge list of toxic sites all over our country. And it turns out that Indiana really is one of the worst states in terms of pollution. We were ranked the most toxic large city in the United States. And a lot of that goes back to our industry, right? Our economy was driven by some factories downtown. And the real problem is our coal. We burned coal for so long. And remember, it produces this nasty stuff called coal ash. And we have been now for a decade since we switched to natural gas. We still don't know what to do with the coal ash. We can't just let it loose into the environment. And you can see in Indiana, we have enough to bury Lucas Oil Stadium under 800 feet. Now, it's not all in one place like that. It's spread out around the state.